welcome to the Rick Fuller podcast, presented by Rick Fuller, team leader of the #1 team real estate team in the San Francisco Bay Area and Sac County for most recent sales, according to Zillow. He has offices in the San Francisco Bay Area and Sac County and is a national real estate coach, community leader, and his commitment to fitness is inspiring. And every weekend he seems to do a new 27-plus mile expedition. I'm Christina Morales. I'm a writer, a marketer, and Rick is my friend. He's my mentor in all things real estate, financial investing, and getting me off the couch and onto my treadmill. So thank you, Rick. Today, we are thrilled to have a special guest with us. She's the founder and CEO of Push-Ups to Pinups, P2B Transformation Center, and her name is LaTasha Renee. She has 5 fitness centers in the Bay Area and has changed the lives of countless people. And LaTasha, quite frankly, I've lost track of how many of my friends have used your program and have said how wonderful you are. So it is an honor to spend some time with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
So today's topic is thriving in a season of transformation. Life today is full of obstacles, and life is obstacles and victories. And this is a challenging time. So we can either become a victim or a victor. We can hide from the world or we can make it better. And both of you, Rick, I've known you for a long time, and LaTasha, I've heard so much about you. Both of you are leaders and influencers because of your positive attitude and thinking outside of the box. So I'm excited to get this talk going with both of you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, thank you.
So Rick, can you tell us a little bit about how you met LaTasha and why she's the perfect person to talk about transformation and thriving today?
Well, LaTasha is the perfect person for us to have this discussion, and she has done some amazing things in our community and surrounding communities. And actually, I met LaTasha before she was the fitness expert that she is.
Really?
And we actually worked together in the real estate business, and this was far before P2P. And LaTasha did some things pertaining to fitness, but our work together was more of serving buyers and sellers and providing financing and real estate sales. And then I saw LaTasha do something really amazing with P2P, and they call it the Transformation Center, and they began transforming lives. And when you transform your health, it doesn't just transform your health. It's not just that you're more healthy. Yeah. It transforms everything in your life. And I got to a point, LaTasha, you and I were just talking about this. I was overweight, I was out of shape, and I joined P2P several years ago. And they had this little lap they call the L lap. And if you've been to the Brentwood location, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can see this light pole from the front door of the fitness center, P2P. And I would see it, and I had to run the L around this pole and back. And the very first day that I showed up to P2P, I was out of shape, I was discouraged, I was frustrated, and I thought, an L lap, it's not even a quarter of a mile. It isn't easy. And they took off like it was a bullet from a gun. And I come back on the L lap. I am literally in last place. And that started my health journey so many years ago with LaTasha. Today we're doing, I'm doing triathlons and running and biking and swimming and all of the things that, and it all really started from that first L lap of me struggling, sucking wind, and being completely exhausted, and seeing the life change of people at P2P.
Yeah.
You know, when they showed up, they would shrink in physical size. They would be stronger, but their body mass would be, but their personality and their confidence, I guess you could say, in my experience, just exploded, right? They shrunk their body, their confidence exploded.
Self-belief.
It was so cool. And so, LaTasha, I am honored to have you as our guest. And tell us a little bit about your journey with P2P.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And thank you for trusting us up on your first walk into P2P. I know it meant a lot to you to make the decision, and I'm really honored that you came to us. So thank you for that. I started P2P. I actually had been in the fitness industry since I was 19. So I'll be 40. So gosh, I'm going on 28 years in the fitness industry, with the gap of which time I was in real estate. And I actually traveled around. I worked for Goldstream Corporate, and I got to open Gold's gyms in Cairo, Egypt, all over Hawaii, Southern California, and the East Coast. And that was kind of my school. I learned a lot about fitness. Also, of course, learned a lot about marketing and business, which was a great platform for me, with some amazing mentors. Christina, you spoke of Rick being one for you. I've also been blessed with some really amazing mentors that I still get to rub elbows with to this day. And then, I had a couple of changes along the way. So I've pretty much done fitness and real estate. Not sure how they combine, but I guess they did, right? Here we are. Here we are. And so when the real estate market started to kind of go a little bit wonky, I actually went to coffee with Linda Haycox. And I sat down with her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, "Fitness is your blood. Do it." And it was like this big light bulb kind of epiphany for me. Like, sometimes it's crazy, but we're like, oh yeah, thanks for the permission to be organically me. And so went through some transitions and some life changes, including a divorce, and lost everything to the market. A couple of houses, filed bankruptcy, and really had to start over. And I said, if I'm going to start over, I'm rebuilding my way. And so the birth of P2P happened at that point back in 2011. I actually was decided, I'm going to go back to school part-time and do this P2P thing on the side. I went to lunch with another dear friend of mine that owns Tart Collections, and he's like, again, what are you doing? Like, do it bigger. I'm like, bigger? Like what? And he blessed me with a building and the ability to do all the tenant improvements. And then there we were birthed. And so now here we are in 2020, 5 locations, an amazing team of people that bleed the same passion for fitness and helping people, and helping people so to, gain belief and become comfortable in their own skin, mind, body, and soul. And that's what we get to do throughout the community. And it's been an amazing journey.
That's so inspirational, because right now, with people being out of work and they're stressed about money and they don't know where to turn. I mean, this is your story right here, where you didn't know where to turn. So you said, okay, what am I good at? What's my passion? And there you go. And now you're so successful at it. And you're not just successful, but you've helped thousands of people be successful in their own health journey. So, I mean, that's so relevant for right now. And Rick, can you tell me a little bit about how this pandemic has influenced your business and how the culture of your organization? And same thing with you, LaTasha. You have such a strong passion for what you do and the people you help. How has that evolved and strengthened during this pandemic?
Well, I'll start off with some ideas, and LaTasha, feel free to join in. Just a couple of thoughts is that, when the world tells you that you have to go and shelter in place, there's a tendency to think that you need to shelter your mind. We know we need to shelter our body. We know we need to stay inside, wear masks. We know we need to do some of those things. But there's this idea that you need to shelter your mind, or that you need to shelter your business, or that you need to shelter, your entire life. And really, what we're talking about is being physically distant, not socially distant. And there's a big difference between the two. And those that sheltered their mind and those that created social distancing rather than physical distancing for the real case of the coronavirus and minimizing those implications in our life. But those that really sheltered their mind, they sheltered their business, in some sense, they climbed under a rock. It's very devastating, because all things work best with momentum. And you start building momentum. The first location for us to open up was by far the most difficult. The second one was pretty challenging. By the time we got to location 4 and 5 with our real estate team, we had a momentum. I would never want to halt that momentum. And a lot of times in life and in business, when we think about the world says to shelter in place, we think it means that we need to climb under a rock, and nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to growing an organization and accomplishing your goals in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And maybe you're similar, Rick. I love a good challenge. Um, and so when shelter in place had begun, actually right before we actually were ordered the shelter in place and it was coming, it was for me, as opposed to, oh gosh, what am I going to do? There's fear. It gave me an opportunity to blossom. And so I ran with it. You know, it's similar to what you're saying. I wanted to find a way for our community to still have a culture and a connection while we were separated through walls, because I feel it's that important. And so while we own a fitness center and fitness is what we do, we're really a club and a place of gathering for individuals. And so to cut that out of their lives, I mean, could people like go, oh, I can justify not working out, but oh my gosh, my friend, my connection, my soul, my growth, like that's a harder thing to cut off. And so our intent upon coming into the shelter in place was to keep that. And so we migrated to doing live workouts. We got Zoom and big screen TVs and cameras, and went from, you know, doing literally, we closed our doors on one night and the next morning we opened up with live sessions at 5 a.m. And we kept our Facebook pages connected and did a lot of challenges, virtual running things and all kinds of things to keep people connected to their culture. Because at the end of the day, while we're sitting here in this pandemic and all of these heavy clouds kind of around us, so everybody needs something to grab onto. And I wanted to make sure that we kept that solid through our community at P2P for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one of the things that we saw we're looking at our real estate team and how we were serving our clients, we knew that things were going to change over time from shelter in place and various degrees. We were going to start off in the real estate business being deemed non-essential, then move to essential, and certain things were going to begin to open up and limitations would begin to be lifted. We didn't know the timeline. We couldn't put a date on it, but we knew there were 3 seasons. And we began to share that there were 3 seasons to come. The first season we defined was what we called the survive season. And it meant that we needed to make necessary precautions so that our team was safe, our clients were safe, our families were safe, and doing things in our office very different. Some of the things that stopped physically were, we stopped immediately doing open houses. We stopped doing some of the showings the way we were doing them. We limited our involvement with our actual physical office. We made some adjustments there. And then we moved to a second phase, we called it pivot. And that was this phase of, okay, we've made those adjustments, we've safeguarded our team, we've safeguarded our clients. Now let's begin to pivot to the new opportunities. I don't think we're ever going back. I don't think there is returning back to normal. I think there's a new normal to come. That's how the world works. It evolves, it adapts, it adjusts, it modifies, and the fittest survive, right? Pun not intended. And then we moved into what we call thrive. And that was, once we made that pivot, we knew that there would be an opportunity to serve a lot of people, to help a lot of people. And so we moved through those 3 phases. We could never put a date and say, this is when this phase begins or ends. We just knew that there were seasons that were very real in this time. And now a lot of our team members and clients are benefiting as a result of the Thrive season that we're now entering into.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. It's been really neat and interesting for us because we created in this pandemic the ability for people to join us virtually. We had old clients that had moved far away come back home. We had family members who have other family members in other countries and other states that are now with us under the P2P umbrella of P2P Live that they get to connect with. It's almost like coffee with friends, except you're doing burpees with friends.
I don't want to really do burpees with anyone. That's my problem. I get the value. I've done many of them at P2P. I just don't want to do them with my friends.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But yeah, it's been a great way to again stay connected. And as you speak, that's our season of thriving. We went from you know surviving and, oh gosh, how do we make this safe for everyone, to pivoting to continue to facilitate something that was safe for people to do, to actually thriving. I absolutely love doing P2P Live. I get to work out with friends every morning, and I get to see faces that are in another time zone that I haven't seen in years. And so it's definitely a moment of thriving in that capacity for us and for our members. So I agree. It's been a great.
I was at a friend's house last week. A bunch of us walked into his garage to see his fitness center. He had a big flat screen TV of where he live streams every morning. And
I love it.
So not only do you have flat screens and professional cameras on his side, but he's on your side, he's got it as well.
Oh yeah, you got to do it right.
you have to adjust. Some of the things that we did is we realized that the day of going out and like literally walking through and showing somebody a home had to change the way that we're doing that. And so we started using virtual tours where we could show somebody a home virtually. We started using Matterport tours where you could actually like dial into certain areas of the home, look at the brand and so forth of the appliance or whatever.
Oh, great.
You could kind of walk through the neighborhood, walk through the area. You could see the drone footage.
Wow.
And that helped us provide the things that our clients needed, because they were still needing to make a transition from one home to the next, whether it be bigger, smaller, or different, and yet doing it within technology so that they could see the property, but they didn't have to necessarily be physically present to do it. And what was funny, and I'm wondering if this was the case for you, certain groups of our clients, they said when we started adapting some of the technology, whether it's Zoom or our aerial drone photography, Matterport tours, all the videos that we're doing, some of our clients said, why didn't you do this earlier? Like the millennial said, I really didn't want to come to your office and meet with you in the first place.
Anyway,
it's Saturday morning. It's Saturday morning. Why do you want me to come to your office? Or why do you want, like, show it to me virtually?
Absolutely.
And did you see that as well? Because I saw this huge group of clients. I didn't even know that they were looking for this. And they're like, yeah, about time you did that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly what happened to us. We had tons of people come and say, oh my gosh, finally. And so, it's crazy, how things work, because this has been on, unfortunately, right? But let's keep it real. It was on a back burner for me for a long time. And so one of the reasons we were able to pivot so quickly is the fantasy and the dream was already here. And so all I had to do was execute. Crazy that it just shows us, gosh, how much we are capable of. And then all of a sudden the pressure comes and you're like, oh, whoa, where'd that come from? But really it was always, so the minute that we said how to do it, it was boom. We did it in a Sunday afternoon, myself and my director of operations, and set it up. And so, it's one of those things where you're forced into movement. We get so caught up in what we think everyone wants to see. And sometimes we stop thinking outside of the box, or we say, oh yeah, that's there, but it's not necessary right now. And so, and then here we are. Gosh, it was. People wanted it.
And what you realize is that an opportunity of a lifetime must be captured within the lifetime of that opportunity.
Absolutely.
And the only way that's going to happen is that you're prepared for it. Right? You can't get to that opportunity and not be prepared or have an idea of where you're going. Then you miss that window of opportunity. You've got to have these ideas. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a solution. You've got to have a dream. You've got to have a vision of what it could be. And then you have to be prepared to execute on that, right? Get it done in that time period. And if you show up in that opportunity, you don't have that prep work done, that prerequisite work complete, then you don't capture that opportunity within its lifetime and it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the same, where people didn't, sometimes it's not this like elaborate plan. It's just vision. And then it's the okay to move through the fear to execute. So, some people got caught up in the, I have to plan this appropriately. I didn't have time to plan. That's personally not me. Like, I'm a vision person, and then I'm a jump and figure out the wings on the way down person. Because we get caught up in the paralyzation of feeling like everything has to be this perfect. And so often, the kind of massaging of it to get to perfection happens in flight, and so that was the difference between how some people were able to get to the place of pivot and some people were not. They were stuck in the survival and the plan mode.
That's right.
And so, congratulations on you for doing the same thing. I'm really blessed to also work with a team that,
Yes.
there's not a ton of, are you sure, Tosh? Like, wait, hold on, let's talk about this one more time. Everyone's all, she says we're going to grow wings, so let's go, guys. Like, so it's so important to be surrounded with a group of like-minded individuals that trust that flight will take place. It's important.
I totally agree with you. I think it's just as important what you do as who you have the opportunity to do it with.
Absolutely.
Right? People that you surround yourself with is of paramount importance. And I think even more important than actually what you do is the people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have done this by myself. So
Christine, one of those amazing people. We have several others. But I want to go back to something that you said, because I totally agree with you. That there's a leap of faith when it comes to vision. For me, what it looks like is I'll come up with a picture in my mind of what it looks like. I really try to do some mental work. Okay, this is what that vision is. This is what it looks like. This is, this is what it feels like. This is what it smells like. This is what it tastes like. And you know what I realized is that rarely does it ever come out the way I had expected. I mean, like, it looks and feels a little bit different. And it's that, as you described it, that massaging along the way that makes it better. And when you have great people in your life, they take great ideas and they help mold them and form them into, what can become reality. And it has has the characteristics of what you had in your mind, but it doesn't look that exactly the same way. It actually, when you have the right people around you, it actually comes out better.
Absolutely.
You design a two-story house in your head architecturally, and it comes out to be a 4-story mansion as they've worked on it, made it better, and you need this, and don't forget about that. And it evolves, but it doesn't evolve without the first step of saying, here's the picture of where we're going and what it looks like. And then you've got to be, as a leader, humble enough to say, I don't have a monopoly on all the ideas.
Yeah.
And listen to the people around the table to say, okay, poke holes in it.
No, and that's exactly what we did with Live. It was, we launched it, started it, and then my regional director, Jen, actually, she took it and ran. And the next time I looked at the kind of next level of it, I was like, whoa. Yeah, you're right. And then, it just continued to evolve, and we continue to have checkpoints along the way to get it what it is. But I 100% agree. It is a collaborative effort. While it's, our vision and our mental creation that we've had kind of percolating for some time, to be able to have a team of people around you that take it and buy into your vision enough to execute it from the 2-story to the 4-story is amazing. So we were able to do the same thing, and I can definitely say that where it has come today is much more vibrant than I even expected. So I'm blessed to have that collaboration for sure from people.
We have a question from a viewer. What has been your biggest challenge during this season?
I would say, I would say for me, I have a huge I take the responsibility of keeping the temperature well for a lot of people. And there's kind of a movement along the journey that you see everyone kind of starts up. It's really easy to light the fire. You know, you start something and it's new and people are like, I don't know what to do. Oh, wait, she or he has direction. Okay, I'm going there. And everyone is 100 miles an hour and they're super excited. And then there's all kinds of little transitions that happen along the way. And it happens in a group, right? So everyone's super excited and then everyone starts going over here. And so my challenge has been, wait, like back here. And it's, I won't call it a heavy burden because I love it, but keeping people lit during these times is tough. And I feel I have a responsibility and to understand the temperature, because, you know, it goes from, okay, we're really, really interested in weight loss right now to I'm eating bonbons, drinking my wine and watching that. I care less about my weight, but this is real. Right? And so finding out the verbiage to still be able to connect to those people. What are they feeling? What are they feeling? What are they feeling? Oh my gosh, now they're out of control. So now fitness is about control. Right? Forget the pounds, forget the weight loss, drink your wine, eat your bonbons, sit outside with your husband, but let's have something of control, like we were talking about, like for an hour. So the challenge has been trying to keep up, so to speak, with the masses, while I go through them myself as a human being. You know, I would say that if you want to call it a challenge, that's been something that weighs heavy, that I'm always trying to make sure that I'm speaking at the right time to the right people and giving them the right message.
Well, I'm sure you have like a formula too with, okay, this is the message they want, this is how I deliver it, and now you have to change your whole message to try to meet them where they're at. And it's, no one's been here before. So how do you address it?
So I'm kind of like this in the sky going, where's the wind? You know? Oh, there it is. Okay, now what do I do with that? that. Yeah.
So do you think you'll keep your live classes, and how will this impact your future business?
I actually have built out a live studio. And so it looks like a little mini P2P, but it's just for studio purposes. And so, yeah, so we will keep this party going, so to speak.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Rick? Since real estate has changed, you're my resident economic forecaster, my real estate expert. What can we see with the housing market? How have you switched and changed your message around?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that one of the biggest challenges that we've faced is really when you have all of this that's happening in the world, just by, I think our very nature is we can go from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset, right? Like we cannot see beyond. We see the stock market is dropping significantly. We hear about it on the news. We listen to it. It comes through our news feed. It's on social media. We see unemployment's going through the roof. And then you begin to say, oh, since those two things, that's what I'm hearing about mostly on the news. That's what's coming across my news feed, that everything must be bad. And that's not the case. There are some markets that are absolutely thriving. For example, you know, Christina, you and I looked at the real estate market, and we looked at, even during shelter in place, even during, you know, COVID-19, and we're recording this now in, you know, mid-July, and even during those times, real estate values continued to climb. Sales were continuing to occur. People were continuing to move from one home to the next. And so it was there's very much a sense that what's happening in the one market is what's happening to every market, and it's not true. Yeah. It's a myth, it's an illusion, it's a mirage. And so what we've realized is by educating both our team members and our clients about what's really happening, what are the facts associated with what's happening in the real estate market, how do then we adjust and better serve and better help our clients make great decisions. And by educating them based on the facts of what's happening, and not on the macro level. You know, we listen to the stock market, that's macro stuff, that's huge. You know, we listen to what's happening in unemployment across the country. That's massive. We listen to what's happening within our state. You know, this is it's one of the biggest states in the United States, right? And those are so macro. So if we get to the micro, the things that matter to those particular homeowners, residents, buyers in the market, our team members that are helping to serve our clients, we begin to talk about the things that are happening in their neighborhood, their community, their subdivision, and eventually what's happening to their home or the home that they want to purchase. Now they can make a better educated decision. So I think moving from helping our team members and our clients realize that what's happening in one market doesn't mean it's happening to all the markets. They're very different markets that are occurring, and we help move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing I love about both of you is, even though the news is saying all these things, the housing market's not doing well, no one can go to the gym, you both of you are like, I'm not listening to that. I'm going to see what I can do to keep going. I'm going to make my business online. I'm going to meet my clients where they're at. So both of you are so motivated. How do you fill your own bucket? You have your families depending on you, your customers, clients, your staff. How do you fill your own bucket during this time so that way you can pour out into other people?
We were talking about it a little bit before we started the webinar. For me, working out is a huge one for me, as I'm sure for Rick too. And Christina, you've said that it's your new go-to. And so having that time is one way of it's a stabilizer for me. And it puts me in a place where I feel like I have some control and then can kind of like span out. And then I move, meaning I move around the area. Like I said, I like different scenery. I love the outdoors and I love the trees and the lake. So we are blessed enough to have a motorhome, and I change my office often. And I work for the road, but my team will tell you it is very important for me. And it is how I refill my bucket. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm looking at a lake one day and I'm working away and I feel this inspiration, and 3 days later I'm able to find a different scenery. And it doesn't have to be in the form of a motorhome, but even just getting outside. I mean, we've all of a sudden been conditioned to these four walls, but we're not. You know, it's kind of like Rick was saying, like, you know, there's so much growth around what we're given, and so you just have to think outside of the box to go do them. And so go work at the park. You know, we're right here. You guys in the East Bay have got Discovery Bay right there. There's a park bench, I'm sure, to get out of your box to find your place zone, to speak. That's definitely been important, and how I keep my bucket full.
That's good. How about you, Rick?
Well, I think LaTasha's got a great point. When you have a different scenery in life, you begin to see things different. Right? You know, for us, for 20 years, Christina, we've worked with foster kids, homeless kids in the community. LaTasha's been a part of that. I've been a big part of helping us, you know, provide the kind of experience these foster kids are excited to tell everybody else about. And when you see what they're going through in life, you know, they're in group homes, foster homes, they're homeless, and they're 8 years old, they're 9 years old, they're a 10-year-old boy or 11-year-old girl. You begin to see that, you begin to think, well, maybe my life isn't all that bad, right? And that it's a different scenery, it's a different park bench, if you will. And you don't do that to gain that insight. You do that with the motivation because, you know, I think to whom much is given, much is required. Like, we're going to give back some, right? And make a difference in this world. It's not just a matter of selling homes or even just helping people get in shape. It's a matter of how we can be influential within the community and make a difference for the time that we have. And I think that that's a big, for me, that's a big eye opener. And when I started serving foster kids nearly 20 years ago, there was always two things that came out of it. One is, wow, I am blessed to have the 3 daughters that I have, right? And I just blessed to be able to spend time with them, blessed to be able to be a part of all the doctor's appointments and basketball games, and we're heading off to the university this coming week. Like, I'm just blessed to be a part of that. And then I learned how blessed I was to come from the home that I grew up in. And I didn't have any control over that one. Like, that one is not something that I signed up for. And I was blessed. It was not a perfect home. It was a great home for me to grow up in. And these kids don't have that. And when you begin to have that perspective, it's a different park bench somewhere. And that's an eye opener. And I think the other thing that we've got to be careful with is you really have to choose which voices you're going to listen to.
Right.
I don't know that anyone's immune, certainly not me, from negative voices, if I listen to those negative voices, if I allow those to get, they're going to cause me to become discouraged, frustrated. They're going to cause me to be negative. When I listen to positive voices, when I listen to voices or books or whatever, people in my life, or when I listen to material and read material that causes me to lift my eyes a little higher than the challenges that I'm facing, and I start seeing a bigger purpose and in what we're doing, like that perspective, instead of looking in these situations at all the things that aren't working, you begin to look for opportunities that are emerging. And what LaTasha was talking about, what I've talked about, is that during shelter in place, there's a lot of bad things that have happened with COVID-19 and people getting sick. But there's also been a lot of opportunities economically that have emerged, and those that were ready for it and weren't discouraged by all the negative media that was occurring, they begin to walk in some of those great opportunities. And walking those great opportunities doesn't mean that you just enrich yourself. It means that you better the people around you. Mm-hmm. You better the people. You are great. Have greater influence with the people that you're spending time with every day. Mm-hmm. You're able to provide better value to your customers and your clients. And so I think really controlling what you allow into your mind, I believe that is where it starts, and it begins to change how you view the world. And to the point that if you want to make a change, you start listening to something different. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at Facebook, and we got a ton of people watching. Like this, I think this is a great conversation, or some of our other podcasts, or some of the things that LaTasha has put out. Just great material to kind of just tweak your paradigm a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Changes your viewpoint, and you got a new park bench to sit at.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And both of you are creating great opportunities. Like LaTasha, you said there's tons of online opportunities for people to go to P2P and stay healthy. And Rick, you've provided all these online opportunities. If someone's looking for a house, they can have virtual open houses. They can meet with your agents on Zoom. We have Rick Fuller Institute. So if someone doesn't have a job right now and they're looking for a future opportunity, they can be an agent. So both of you are pouring into the community and giving people opportunities to stay healthy and to make a better future for themselves. So that's incredible. If someone is stuck, if someone's depressed and stuck, what piece of advice would you give them right now? If they say, that sounds great, but I don't know how to get motivated and started, how could they do that?
I'll say this sounds so crazy, but I'm not a huge fan of the word motivate.
Okay.
And the reason I'm not is because the perception of the word motivation is painted in a picture that it's some anvil that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. People are saying, I'm waiting for motivation. Right. And I'm just not a fan of that. There are lots of things that we do in life that don't come or don't get executed because of motivation. I mean, and being super real as a mother, juggling my own company and my children when they were little, there is lots of times I came home from a long work day to then have a second shift of life of, even after coaching and training clients at night where I had to bathe my kids, read the book, do the homework. There was no motivation that happened that made me want to do those things on some days. And so I really encourage people to dig a little bit deeper in figuring out what makes them move instead of this broad term of motivation as it's gifted to you. I'm more along the way of why do you do those things after a long work day as a single mother and building your company and you're exhausted yourself, and maybe this is a day you haven't given yourself anything. What makes you go home and cook dinner, read your child their book, give them a bath? Well, you're trying to provide, to Rick's case in point, giving something to someone else. And so I encourage people to dig a little bit deeper as to what makes them move, as opposed to this surface level of, it's so easy for people to say, especially in this season, I'm just not motivated to do that.
Right.
Well, I'm not. But the bigger picture is that I want some level of control. My bigger picture is I need to be grounded so I can be of good for myself and to others. Mm-hmm. Motivated isn't the word that I would assign to the movement. And so I encourage people to dig a little deeper and find out what their why is. And that comes with some really, really honest and open conversation, and not just to put a stamp on it that everyone else says. Motivation, whatever it is, it changes. And I encourage that conversation all the time, so you realize where your fuel comes from. It's there. We're just not identifying it correctly to get us to move. And that takes some insight and some time alone and honest conversation with yourself oftentimes.
I love that. Rick, you also have that same know your why. Whenever somebody joins the team, that's one of the first questions they have to answer is, what is your why? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that when you really, and Simon Sinek wrote a book that said starting with why. If you've not read it or listened to it or watched his YouTube video, his TED Talk, it's powerful. And it's the idea that most people, they start their conversation with what they do. This is what I'm going to do. And a few people even start the conversation, with this is how I'm going to do it. Very few people reach down deep enough to say, this is my why. This is why I'm going to get up in the morning and show up at P2P, or to turn on the screen and do it live, or this is why I'm going to get my real estate license. Like, I believe I want to provide for my family and I want to provide for other families. Like, very few people tap into that why. But here's the interesting thing. When you tap into that why, when you go down deeper than the what and the how, and you get actually to the why, you start getting sticking power. That you get up in the morning when you're tired, and when you, like LaTasha said, you got no motivation. Like, there are times in my day, I have no motivation. I just do it because I need to get it done, and I put one foot ahead of the next, and I finally show up, and then I'm running, and then I'm biking, and then I'm swimming, or whatever the deal is, right? Like, you just put one step ahead of the other. And what I've learned is that people think to do that, you got to be a person of great discipline. Start at 5 and you end at midnight, and it's not true. It's a myth to think that you got to be a person of great discipline. What you need to do is be a person of select disciplines.
Agree.
And if you're a person of select disciplines in life, if you're going health, select disciplines might be eating right and working out, right? And that's your select discipline. If it's going to be with relationships, it might be taking your spouse on a date and investing there. If it's your kids, it's going to be spelled out with TIME, right? Like, these are select disciplines that you could, and it's not enough to do them in one area. It is not enough to compartmentalize life and say, okay, I got that one done, and then the others fall apart. I think when LaTasha and I had our conversations, when I couldn't run the L lap, which we talked about at the beginning, which, LaTasha, is it 100 yards, maybe 200 yards, and I'm struggling to run it.
No.
And back in the day,
oh no.
Yeah, you.
and what I realized is that if you just stay at it, that select discipline, you don't have to be a person of all disciplines. Just define what it is and be a person of the select disciplines that you need to accomplish in order to reach the results that you want in every area that's important to you in life. And usually there's one or two. There's one or two things to grow spiritually. And if you do those things, you're going to grow spiritually. There's one or two things you can do to grow physically. There's one or two things you can grow financially, or through your business, or in relationships, or whatever it is. Find those things that matter to you most and identify the select disciplines. When you do that, focus on those. And as you do that, you just put one step ahead of the other. And then if motivation is there, you do it. And if motivation is not there, you do it. You know your why, and you get up and you do it no matter what. It's not even about whether you like to do it or not. It has nothing to do with like. I tell my kids, they say, Dad, I don't like eating my vegetables. What does liking eating your vegetables have anything to do with eating your vegetables? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you if you liked them. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna eat your vegetables. That's how we roll. And there's a point that in life you just have to say, I may not like every aspect of my job or every aspect of my working out or financially, but you do like the byproduct that comes with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I would much rather put forth that select discipline and have the results than to have the regrets of not doing it. Those regrets are too much for any person to bear. And I think, so be a person of select disciplines, know your why to the root of who you are, define it, think about what LaTasha was saying, like define it in your mind, what it looks like, so you have a clear, articulate picture. It might change over time, that's okay, but you have a place that you're going. The clearer you can see it in your mind, the more you'll have it in your hand.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, we're out of time, and both of you, thank you for your nuggets of gold. This is so actionable, and you've given us steps that we can take to keep moving forward and to be successful during this time. So thank you so much. And now more than ever, we need to stay healthy in our mind, our body, our soul, our family, our finances. So thank you for your insights. If you want to learn more about Rick Fuller and his team, you can go to rickfuller.com. And to learn more about LaTasha, you can go to P2P Transformation Center, and her website is p2ptransformationcenter.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.